You look great. Wow, you're wonderful. Hello, Christina. Yay, it's Christina
I'm
Moses.
having a massive allergy attack right now,
That,
so I
that's
might
part
be blowing my nose. Okay.
that's part of your charm. That's part of your charm.
Well, now
So,
we'll see how well
I
you
mean,
can act.
yeah, and actually, I'm very surprised you don't have someone that you've hired to blow your nose for you, because I mean, after all, living in the
Thought I would, give back,
yes,
take
yes,
a
exactly,
blow my
exactly. Well, someone pointed out. Someone once told me that they saw Rod Serling give a talk at their college, and afterwards they saved one of his cigar butts, and this person mentioned me that because that would have Serling's DNA on it. Theoretically, you could clone Rod Serling from that cigarette butt. So there
Yeah,
you go. So
there
so
you go.
definitely the same is true of your nose. So yeah, exactly, exactly. But we can elevate this conversation from here on out. So. So, well, you are one of our favorite dear persons. You are a dear friend, and many people know that you're starring now in A Million Little Things on the American Broadcasting Network, so
ABC for those who don't know
ABC. And yeah, it's interesting. You probably don't know this, but back in the days of radio, NBC had two networks, NBC Blue and NBC Red, and the courts forced them to sell one of them off, and that became ABC. Isn't that
I did not
interesting?
know that.
Isn't that
What
crazy?
was the difference between the two? Like, was it?
The difference between red and blue.
Yeah.
One was red and one was blue.
Didn't
So
look Got it.
yes, exactly. So we're going to talk about your experiences with us.
Yeah.
First of all, we first met you when we auditioned you for World Enough in Time, the great George Takei Star Trek episode we did together, and you were
Yes.
spectacular
Well,
as his daughter.
yes, well, Christina came in to audition, and she did her audition, and she left the room, and the casting director and I looked at each other and said,
Yes, thank God.
"We
Yes,
got her."
yes, and you were just spectacular, and you can and the fans can watch the entire episode here on Mr. Sci-Fi, World Enough in Time with George Takei, and so from then on, I knew I wanted to work with you from then on. So I wrote, so we've done the Magic Time radio play together. I very much want you to be in Magic Time when we shoot it as a TV show, but also now in Space Command, I wrote the role of Liana for you, and we're just waiting to shoot that damn episode. And but because of Ripple Effect, we got to have a little preview scene of you as that character, which will be debuting at 1 o'clock. So
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So Christina, I guess you're a wonderful actor. You're one of my favorite actors of all time. I mean, right up there with Charlton Heston. And I'll tell you, I once saw him in person, and he had this massive torso and these little spindly old man legs. So it was pretty interesting. But okay, but I digress.
So tell us something. I mean, you've been in quite a diverse number of projects. So what is it that led you to this profession, and what kinds of things, in terms of like, if you were the god of writers, what kinds of things most draw you?
Sure. Well, growing up in Los Angeles, it's just kind of all around me. My mother worked at Warner Brothers for a while. She dabbled in acting for a very long time. My father used to teach acting, and he also did a bunch of guest stars back in the 70s, and is a writer, and he created some plays back in the day. And so it was just around, and I remember I would watch some rehearsals or his acting classes, and then I would go into our hallway and do them and like repeat them. I mean, I was like 4 or 5, but I would repeat them. And then as soon as anyone would watch me, I noticed someone was watching me, I would just clam up. I was like, So I've always been kind of, shy, I think, when I was younger. And so I remember my dad would shuffle me all over Hollywood. And finally I was like, I don't want to do this. You have to stop. I'm too shy for this, but maybe when I'm older. Well, so finally he got the hint. And when I got older, when I was in high school, I found theater on my own, and I just fell in love. And so, but it was always a hobby. I'm an artist. So it was just another form of expression. It wasn't really until like mid to late 2000s where I was like, okay, I really, really want to do this. And so, yeah, yours was actually one of the first things I've ever done. World Enough in Time.
Spectacular.
Yeah. I had such a great experience. I think I had a fever half of the
Yeah.
time. I was like
Yes,
104.
between takes you were lying on an air mattress and having chills,
Yeah.
and it's very funny because in the climactic scene between you and George, where he steps on the transporter thing and all of that, Elaine was reading his lines with you off camera, and Elaine was reading your lines with him off camera. So one could actually edit together a scene of Elaine playing both roles if one chose to.
Let's do that. You do know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You
But
have to have that in the blooper reel.
yeah,
Well, you were very sick, and we were working him for like 24 hours straight.
George Takei.
And
Yeah.
so everybody was sort of like really pulling it out. And so you guys got to rest between.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
You have to do that when you're sick. Sometimes, I mean, no one likes to do anything when they're sick, but you don't have a lot of time to pussyfoot around. You know, you just all of any self-conscious comes around, any doubts. You know, it's not. There's no room for that. So yeah, I've had, you know, in the beginning of my career, which I still think I'm still there. You know, I didn't have a lot of things just come my way, or I can just say like, no, I don't want to do that. So, you know, I took but I've been very fortunate actually, because everything that I have booked is something that I believe in and something that I really thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's true, they have all been very different. I think what I'm drawn to in terms of storytelling, however the genre, you know, be it sci-fi or be it drama, you know, is just the human messiness, basically. You know, just that gray area. It's so easy and comforting sometimes to fall into the binary of black and white and good and bad and right and wrong, right? It makes us feel safe. I understand that, but that's not where life happens.
No.
It's not who we actually are. So I'm really fascinated by the gray area of morals and ethics and just how we're really trying to do the best that we can. Most of the time. I don't know if everyone's trying to do the best they can, you know, with the tools that we have available to us in any given moment.
Yeah.
Neat.
That's cool. That sounds good. We'll have to drop you into one of those kind of roles too. You know, there's Michael Reeves and I created a show called Dante's Station that's about a homicide cop from New York who's going through a very bad divorce, and he and his very estranged 14-year-old daughter are sent to a mining colony that has alien races working together near the core of the galaxy. And there's a homicide cop female homicide cop who only sleeps with aliens. she's sworn off men, and
I can understand that.
exactly. So maybe we'll send you that script at some point.
Sure.
But it is intriguing because we've had tremendously good luck in working with actors, even when he was with us, where he had, you know, went to shows when he was still working in mainstream television with established actors, of seeing how they were being forced to fight inappropriate material.
Yeah.
And he was able to sit down and say, you know, to really watch the performance and sit down and see what they really needed.
Yes.
And then work with where the actor really understood and where, you know, where they had those depths.
Yeah.
And really improve the show by simply working with the performer who had and actually knew their character far better than any of the writers did.
Well, we view actors as our collaborators. They're not, you know, I mean, every now and then you'll meet a producer who hates actors, and it's like, are you out of your mind? You know, if your actors are bad, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. You know, and no, we love working with you. It's our favorite thing. It's like a smorgasbord. You know, it's terrific, and
Now,
you know,
in terms
which
of
I'm sure you're often called. By the way, I should mention, when you started acting at 4, you were one of the great 4-year-old Lady Macbeths.
I was. I'm
phenomenal.
renowned for that in a very small town.
Yeah. It's
Well, in terms of your process, I know you've worked with you know, more recently with a couple of very good coaches you mentioned. And I was wondering what it was in terms of how they were able to work with your machinery and your mechanics. What would you say is a really good way to draw out performers and give them a safe place, and perhaps a slightly dangerous place? Talking to undertrained actors, how would you talk to them about that?
That's such a good question. It's a great question. I think for any actor who wants to get trained, be it a coach or in a class, I think it's important to find a coach, a teacher who's going to who understands that acting is therapeutic,
Mm,
not therapy.
mhm, mm, mm.
And that you don't have to be dredged through the depths of your deepest, darkest fears.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't have to relive things.
No.
Now, there's a caveat to that, though, because I mean, it's all very, very personal. It really is very personal. But because acting is very personal. I'm only using my mind, my heart, my emotions, my experience, my dreams, but I think there's a really fine line to tread there, because yes, like I'm bringing my lived experiences into this, and then I have to look into this character and mine who they are from the script, work with the director and the writer on that, and and fill in their life, especially if it's not like just presented and given automatically there, and create something. And then also just find where we meet, where this person does live inside of me, and how would I express that, and then also kind of so that I know what that feels like, and then put that aside so then I can now have what this character does with that lived experience. So it's kind of a marrying situation sometimes, unless you're playing a real person, but it's still gonna always someone who's existed. But I think it always comes through you and your own particular mannerisms. But with that said, like if it works for you to pull from your past, great. Just know that there's going to be a limitation there, because it ultimately is not about you. If it's a point of connection, sure.
Yeah.
But there are, there's teachers and coaches who really like to kind of go for the emotion and really exploit that and all, and I just I find that can be a little dangerous, because ultimately, bottom line is your allegiance is to the story and this person that you're creating.
Yeah.
And the moment.
Yes.
The moment. Everything falls away in the moment, that's the most crucial and most important thing. So if you don't have an instrument that can respond fully to what you're listening to, listening from verb, but what I read on your face, from your body language, for what you're actually saying to me, to what I hear in the background, what I know about the story, all in the present moment. So I think finding a coach who can do that, and then finding someone who can just relate to how you learn.
Yes.
Some people need a whole backstory. Some people need to write things out and create and go detailed, meticulous. Some people need to live close to the circumstances, whatever it is. But definitely get in the habit of teetering on the edge of what you're uncomfortable with, getting comfortable with the unknown. And you have to practice that in your life, because it's not really divorce. Like if you're not listening in your life, you're not listening to your scene partner. If you're not open in your life, you're not open in front of the camera. You're definitely not going to be open in front of the camera. I mean, some people have more facility with that, because in life, sometimes, we're more introverted, and then on stage or in camera, we can open up in a particular way. But just, I guess the bottom line is to really work that mechanism and be able to drop down into emotion, be available to feelings.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
That's excellent, because as a culture, we're not good with listening. Besides, on hotlines, there's a thing called active listening, where you're really listening.
Right.
And you're not just listening where you have a break where they take a breath and you can shoot in what you're thinking, right?
Right.
It's where you're really listening to someone, and you're listening to what's beneath what they're saying, not the presentation, but what they're really saying. I think that that's something that would offer an additional challenge, since normally as a culture, we don't listen as real people.
Yeah. Well, there's really two basic groups. There's people who listen, and then there's men. And basically, I mean, it really goes to that. Not to slam on men, because we're not all terrible. But the
we do have a fan question here. Question from, we actually have a couple, but we're going to be mindful of your time.
Okay. Oh, okay. I could probably go. Yeah, I'll let you know when I have to.
Gotcha. Ms. Legion 01 asks, what is your favorite character that you can relate to?
That I've played, or just in the world?
I'm gonna say that you've played.
Oh yeah, it probably makes more sense because there's lots of characters out there that I most relate to. I would say probably all of them, because I mean, other than like I'm not a werewolf, but I relate to the story of falling in love, right? You know, those two women fell in love, and so I know what that's like on every level. I'd say I think there are two characters, Jana from Containment and I don't know, what was my name? Charla from Condor, where just the tendency to kind of stay locked in and self-protected, you know, the fear of being vulnerable, fear of committing, like that. I can understand that. Back in the day when I was a young wee lad.
And so you said there was another question, Adam? Oh, Adam, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, I thought it was the coronary.
I was looking at more questions.
Okay.
Let's see here. Oh, Jatham Red asks, what was your favorite show and episode?
From
of what you've been in, yeah.
My favorite show and episode. Oh my goodness. Well, I adore the show that I'm on right now. I love every single human that I'm working with, from the crew to the cast. I love the stories that we're telling. I think it's really bold of ABC to tackle breast cancer in men. And breast cancer in general, but because obviously we have Maggie, who's now in remission, and depression, mental illness, and more specifically, mental illness and depression in the Black community. That's crucial because that's something that doesn't get discussed. And also just like men being vulnerable with each other, and having a Black couple who doesn't have to be good and perfect all the time on television, that they can go through what they need to go through and be human. And then also, you know, we discussed molestation on the show, and stay tuned for season 3. It's going to get really, we're going there with some stuff. So, but I love being, I have like fantasies of being a spy. So like being able to do that on Condor was amazing. Was super fun, and I love fantasy and sci-fi stuff. So like, you know, being able to work with you two has been just so delightful, so wonderful. I love it. I love that you always have me playing like rebellious characters, characters who just kind of, you know, have such strong integrity.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't matter, just as long as they're following their heart, but they're not doing it at the expense of anyone else, but they do, you know, they're doing what they believe is right. And I love that.
Yeah. Thanks.
And I love being a werewolf. I'll be a vampire next time.
Great.
Fairy, I don't know. I was obsessed with Lost Girl. I would be any one of those characters. Okay. Yes.
Okay. But that's fun. And we love writing for you because again, we tend to craft characters based on our actors, our friends, and so you know you have such a spirituality and so many great qualities of heart that it's great fun to find roles for you. And but the other thing is that you know when we worked on the George Takei episode, again it was so fun. The first thing I ever wrote of that script was the scene where you're talking to Kirk and just basically saying, you know, you're talking about how lonely he is. It's a different girl on every planet. And the whole, and I knew exactly who that character was immediately. And the basic thing with her was that she was just taking a can opener to everybody and cracking them open, and to see who the authentic person was. She had no interest in superficial conversation, and she was all about authenticity. And so that was super, super fun to write, and you were spectacular in it. And so no, you're our, you know, we're members of the Christina Moses fan club, you know, so we get dressed up in the Christina Moses outfit, and you know when it's late at night, and we won't talk about that.
Shut up. Yeah, I loved that about Ilana. Like that. Can you imagine if we were just took off our masks and were able to, you know, just connect and be authentic, and it's okay if we make mistakes and look stupid, you know?
No, it's great. It's
I,
great.
Of course, now there's COVID, which is an additional problem.
Yes. And Adam,
Yeah.
were you and Adam, were you trying to get a word in?
No, you guys keep going.
Okay. And I know you have to peel off at some point soonish.
Yeah, my latest is in 4 minutes.
Let's make those 4 minutes count.
Okay,
So, so I mean, basically, you know, now in Space Command, of course, we've created the character of Liana. Well, one thing you touched on a little bit, but we can talk about a little more. One thing I love about science fiction, and that's one of the reasons why I am a science fiction writer, is you don't have to write all the bullshit stereotypes that a lot of mainstream media has spent so much time wasting, you know, and yeah, and particularly for my friends who are mixed race or Black or Latino or Asian, it's just, you know, and so we don't even go there. We just write characters that we love writing.
yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and the funny part is, you know, I knew when I wrote with Michael Reeves, when I wrote World Enough in Time, that I wanted Sulu's daughter to be mixed race, and so I cast the actress who played your mother as an African American actress, and then there you are.
Well, you might mention that was the Rod Serling trick.
Rod Serling trick?
Because he couldn't write about, unless he wrote in fantasy, he wasn't allowed to write about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, about social issues or anything. Yes, of course. That's why he wrote Twilight Zone. But also now with Liana in Space Command, I mean, it's great because you're playing Armin Shimmerman's daughter, which is really a pretty interesting gene pool when you think about it, you know, because he's a little short, bald-headed guy. But and Robert Picardo, of course, is playing, you know, his grandfather. So it's just a really interesting genetic thing. But I love the fact that you're a strong character. Again, when we show Ripple Effect in a few minutes, they'll get to see who that character is. And again, she's very much like Alana in the Star Trek episode, just someone very, very, very strong in herself. And so it's great fun, great. And we've written that entire script, so we're just waiting to shoot it.
I know.
You know.
God, it's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah.
And magic time, and it's gonna be great when we can do magic time. I love that. And it's so, I mean, can you imagine being in a pandemic, which we are?
Yes.
And we're all relying on Zoom and social media and on, you know, all of this technology. And then what if that were to go dark?
Yeah. Well, we're,
you know, and can't go out. Like right now, everyone's loosening up the restrictions, but imagine in the beginning.
I know. Well, this magic time is definitely on the plate. That's now that we've got a studio, we're just gonna, you know, we'll just, you know, I'll direct you as I normally do, which is just like turn this way, turn that way, make a face of some kind. You know, I mean, Elaine's the real director in the family, as we all know. I mean, you know, I can wear a shirt that just says fraud, and Elaine will say, you know, and hers will say the real deal. So, you know.
That's so good. I mean, Elaine, yeah, I mean, you can answer that question too, the one that you posed to me, which is, you know, because the way you work with actors, I feel like you have that ability to kind of meld into what each of us need on a very particular personal
She's an actress director, absolutely.
Yeah,
actor director for sure.
I try not to speak to the actor as the actor, try and only speak to the character when they're on
I like that too. Yeah. Some people don't need that, but I really, really respond to that.
Yeah, no, it's and not to be facetious. I mean, you know, I can direct more or less, but you know, but Elaine's an actor's director. Elaine was an actor, you know, off Broadway and a director. Yeah. You know, she was trained, you know, in drama school and all of that. She was the hot shot in drama school, which was fun.
There's so much tech going on, even in theater.
Yes.
And you're supposed to be holding this emotional core, and I think any help that can be offered in that world with all of this noise and lights and everything that doesn't see around you, that it's critical to just really help create that bubble.
Yeah. Well, so I guess we've reached our 12:30, so we'll let you go off to your life of luxury and adulation, you know, and
and a whole group of people outside my door. All the time.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll send you the link to the completed episode because you'll be amazed at what we put around you. Then
I saw it. I did. I have the link. That's
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Thoroughly impressed. The fact that you could do this and all of us just in our own homes.
Yes.
Doing monologues and it works. It's
fun.
Fascinating. But I love your commitment to creativity. I do. And your commitment to all of us and to storytelling. It's just truly unparalleled.
Well, thank you, Christina. Thanks for being you, and more adventures to come, you know. So stay well, stay safe. Talk soon. Bye. Take care.